Welcome to the Intentional Household Podcast. Today is an exciting episode for us because this is our final episode of the year. Tatiana and we've learned so much from all of the various guests we've had come on the podcast for the year. So today we're going to be discussing our learnings, our key takeaways, and just some of our favorite topics in general. All in all, this is an episode where we are reflecting on the past year that we just had and also sharing the future of Intentional Household. So let's get into it.
Yes.
So Tatiana, we had so many amazing episodes. We learned so much from various guests. And after each episode, you and I were always so hyped up and excited on just our new findings and the new things that we could implement in our own lives and our households. So there was a lot that we learned.
So much.
Yeah. So overall, what would you say are some of the achievements or successes that came out of these episodes that we had and just doing the podcast itself?
There's so many. I think, starting from the beginning of the idea of having the podcast and really not knowing what we were doing at all.
Yeah,
complete newbies in every sense. And that's been a really fun adventure. Just trying to be like, let's see what happens.
That's right. That's
from everything from having to find studios, figure out how to edit, put everything up, decide how we want to have guests on. All of that has been a really great adventure and experience and has certainly given us new skills.
Yeah.
We are in our new studio that we made ourselves.
Right.
There's been so much that, reflecting on all of that and having the guests has been really interesting.
Yeah, because I can't even remember what the vision was initially. I mean, it certainly started with Alex, my husband, joining us on the episodes. You weren't even in it.
That's correct. I was in the background.
I think that we thought about having some guests on, but once we really got into our groove, it was like, okay, there's so much that we can talk about.
Yes.
So much. And that goes beyond having, like a husband and wife on here talking. I had so much to learn. You had so much to learn.
Yes.
You also had so much to give. So it was like, okay, let's get you on as well. And just having a podcast ourselves, like learning about that, yes. And for me, having the comfort to get behind the camera, have a conversation, that was, as you know, a huge learning curve for me, because if we had an episode on bloopers, we would see that, there are a lot of bloopers, lots of discomfort. And so getting out of my comfort zone and getting comfortable, being uncomfortable, like EOS like to say, that was huge for me.
Yeah, that was a big one. And I think the biggest thing for how this all started with the podcast was just curiosity. We were just looking to learn how to improve our own lives. And in that, we knew that, obviously everybody's in the same boat. And this was a big thing with like parenting is a big theme of just like being parents with your career, trying to be intentional with your children, trying to be intentional with yourself, trying to be intentional with your friends and all these things, and how you're able to make that happen in all areas of your life is really challenging.
It is.
And so speaking to all these different experts was very enlightening. And there isn't one episode where we didn't come out of that being like feeling more inspired or having something that we could actually implement. And we actually found that too with a lot of our episodes where we made guides of how to do stuff. They do really well. People love to download them and get that resource of information and those quick learns of that they can implement in their lives, just to make their lives a little bit easier, a little bit more intentional, a little bit more focused. I think that was a really big a success for us.
Yeah, because these were guides we were using ourselves and implementing and are still implementing within our household.
One of my favorites that we came up with was the expectations clarifier. We came up with that in an episode about, what was it? Birthdays?
Mother's Day.
Yes, important events. It started with Mother's Day, but then, of course, as we're discussing this, it's like, well, this applies to a lot of things, family vacations, any birthdays, even with children, holidays, your whole entire summer, your whole year, these like expectations that people have that they haven't communicated in a very clear and effective way. Mostly, partners, but all family members. And then I just, as we kind of were going through this, I could reflect on how many scenarios I could have used this and saved so many arguments between siblings, my sisters, my mother, my friends, all of these things, because it just comes down to this misunderstanding of expectations that was never discussed.
Right.
And this very easy checklist you kind of run through can just sort that all out in a matter of minutes. And having these little tools are really effective. So that was a really great process that we went through of just realizing that we can be very helpful to ourselves and others.
That's right. Another one for me was the birthday parties and really coming up with the formula for the right birthday party. Yeah. And that's something that was, obviously inspired by our own experiences and something that my friend Jody and we always discuss together. Mm-hmm. And like a lot of friends had come to me afterwards saying like, wow, that was really helpful. Yeah. Right. Like really limiting it. Anyway, I'm not going to get into it, but really following that formula for a birthday party, because birthday party planning as a parent is so stressful. And not only planning, but implementing and being there and then trying to survive it. And then dealing with the aftermath of, okay, we just had that party. I'm exhausted.
Yeah. It's amazing how much it takes out of you.
Mm-hmm.
You try to enjoy it.
Yes.
But then there's the part of you that's just like, am I enjoying this?
That's right. And I also want to call out another one, which was vacationing with another family. Mm-hmm. That one was huge for me because, and I think we came up with that because so many families think, hey, let's Tatiana, like you have a husband, you have kids similar age, let's go on vacation together. And then without putting too much thought into it, mm-hmm. and what your vision is for
expectations again.
What mine are, right? That could be a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, it can really put a damper on a friendship. Mm-hmm. After coming out of that, being like, I thought we were going to have a certain experience that we did not have. Mm-hmm. And just managing all of those things that are inevitably going to come up in your life. I think those were great to go through and have those discussions. I think there was really good ones about relationships. Mm-hmm. I still have those the 10 questions. There's an episode that we had with
Ralph.
And
Jay. Yes.
And they went through this series of 10 questions that are very effective to ask your partner. And I have still implemented those with my husband, and I go through them, and it really does instigate a great conversation of how you're doing. Sometimes I don't get through all of them. Sometimes it can be like an uncomfortable conversation, but also really good checkpoint to like continuously have, as we are often just going through the motions of so many to-dos that we actually aren't putting. And it's just like having this, for me, I'm a very formulaic person.
Yes.
Where I sort of need to get a bit of a framework of what to use. And I have found that other people are the same way. So that's, seeing these checklists getting downloaded all the time was really great. And knowing that was helpful for me and somebody else was very rewarding. Another one we had was the, one of our most downloaded checklists is actually the estate planning one.
And that's something that we talked about that episode mm-hmm. for so long. And we still do, but it's just something at our stage of life that I think we didn't feel, or I didn't feel was too relevant for us right now. It's something we can put off. But realizing that you don't want, hey, you don't know what the future holds.
No,
you don't. And let's get this sorted now, especially while we have kids.
Yes.
And we want to make sure everyone is taken care of.
Yes.
And so doing it now while you are in the mindset and while you are still healthy and mentally there still, mm-hmm. rather than waiting and putting it off. And maybe it's too late. Right?
Yeah. And also for people that are, sandwich generation where they have parents that they need to help them get organized. Yes. Otherwise they know that burden's on them. Uh-huh. Oftentimes, which is, that's discussed in an episode. And if anybody wants to listen to it, it's there. It's a great listen. Very, very helpful of everything somewhat you need to do to get your estate in order. So again, things you don't want to necessarily think about, but it just made it very easy and like a step-by-step guide of what to do. And if you work through that, you're in great shape. And that's what I liked. Just like these very educational discussions, but you come out of it feeling a little bit more organized, better, and again, like intentional about your life.
If you love the ideas we share here, come join the conversation over at Instagram. Follow us at Intentional Household for more tips, behind the scenes moments, and practical tools to help your family thrive with less chaos and more calm.
And I'm going to say just call out one other episode while it's on my mind. And it was making next year's summer better than the past. And I say that it's particularly relevant to me right now because every January we have summer planning quickly approaching after the holidays.
It's amazing how fast that happens.
However, this year it crept up even earlier in December. But because I had that framework in place and I had already done a lot of the work last summer, I felt less overwhelmed because I already had the weeks lined up. I know what we're doing and when. And so it made just being thrown into the planning in December or earlier than expected a lot easier.
Yeah.
So I was really happy that I had that prepared. Ready to go.
Yeah. None of these things, again, like haven't been useful in some way.
That's right.
It's amazing. Even Oxford Learning one, we had Oxford Learning come. I implemented that with my youngest. So happy I did. It definitely gave her a boost she went from kindergarten to grade 1, which is a big transition. Like it is. It's basically a play-based in kindergarten to all of a sudden she had a really great teacher that was actually very high expectations and was giving them quite a lot. And so having that Oxford Learning just, helped her get very confident. And to see that again, had I not done that, I feel like it would have been a lot more stressful. So every takeaway was really implemented and I could see the results from it. So yeah. All of that has been a wonderful experience this year.
Now, with that, there were definitely some themes that we noticed in the episodes. And I would say, you touched on the one that we noticed with Ralph and Jay with their 10 questions. And then we also chatted with Gina and Gary on just their successful relationship, both in their marriage and in business. And one of the key themes we noticed was planning.
That's right.
It was regular touch points and planning ahead, right? Because it's very hard to get things done, or I'm not saying have control, or really being intentional about your life and the future unless you take some time.
That's right.
To plan.
Yeah. There's that, that expression of, I'm going to get it wrong, but the one like Abraham Lincoln said about, if he had to go cut down a bunch of trees, he'd spend an hour sharpening his axe. It's like one of those. Like, to make your life easier, you just spend a little bit of time getting yourself organized. And then all of that time later is just so much more efficient, less stressful. And you've really put in the time to think about what's important rather than just going through the motions or feel like you're just getting pushed through this way and that way. And then not having, any clarity on your own time or your family's, and just like unnecessary stress. Exactly. It really removes that as much as possible. And having those plans.
It really is just like running your household like an operation.
That's exactly it.
In any business or any successful business, there is going to be some sort of planning involved and then regular touch points.
Yes. I mean, I remember seeing that when I worked at a marketing agency where I would work on their different strategies. There was always just such a big difference between the organizations that were very organized, and you could tell, and the ones that weren't and didn't have the information they needed. And it's just, the same principles apply. Really trying to picture the future and apply what you already know. You were going to miss those bumps along the way. And just have a smoother ride and a more enjoyable ride, basically. It's really that simple.
It is. Yes. Another theme that we noticed is the value of having support and having working as a team. And I mean, this is in life in general. So you mentioned Oxford. So that they are, you could consider them your cheerleaders for school support, right? We talked about having a personal trainer. That's another form of support. The estate planner with Cheryl Maloney, right? The estate planning. And so using an estate planner to help with that. Using these people who are the professionals, they're knowledgeable in this, who can guide you. Even home organization.
Yeah, we had fashion, styling, things that make you feel better. And again, a lot of these things could be for a very temporary period of time to kind of get yourself organized or get yourself set up. But certainly you can't go through life without having support. And again, these could be support from really good friends in your network that have expertise that you're just not tapping into, but just, highlighting how important it is and how you can leapfrog yourself into a better place when you actually step back and be like, how can I get support, rather than being like, I can do this on my own, or it's a sign of weakness, or I don't want to bother somebody, I don't want to be a burden. But just being like, where can I find support?
That's right.
And just like really, it's a mind shift that I think we noticed again when these successful couples and in business and all of that, they had that common theme of just being like, where can I get the right people in the right place,
right,
to help my life in a way? And that's not a bad thing. That's not cheating. It's not. It's just something like, this is something that is beneficial to so many, and oftentimes people want to help.
They do. Yes. Seeking and accepting help can be so challenging, but then we've noticed that it's just so supportive to the individual.
Yes.
And that was also, we had the episode on divorce, right? And coming together in your community and finding others, like-minded people in that community. And so we talk about community in general, but then there's even a community for divorced individuals coming together.
Absolutely.
Who can share their experiences and just make things a little easier.
Yeah, it's essential. It really is. Having that, you never know when it's going to be needed, but having different types of communities, again, just helps support you and keeps your life more joyful. And again, we talked a lot about that in the very beginning of Intentional Household, is like what drains you and what energizes you, and just like really trying to focus on removing the draining things in some way so that you have more room on the energizing ones, that it's going to make you a better person, a better partner, a better mother, and just better to yourself. So that was, I think we set out to find information about that, and we did it. And now we want to look at what comes next in the future.
So in thinking about 2026 or the year ahead, I want to just mention quickly how for 2025, I really focused on having fun and providing fun for my kids and having a fun summer and keeping, the birthday parties fun and different experiences fun. And so I think that was really important. A key learning for me is kind of choosing that word and keeping that in the back of my mind. So like, what is it? What's the vibe that I want to achieve for my family? And I think by having that, I was able to...
You feel accomplished.
I would say, yes, I would say that. But if I hadn't done that and talked about it, and I had talked about it on the podcast, I had talked to you about it and to Alex. So I do think I was able to keep things fun. And again, that was with the summer reflections. I was able to ask my kids, did you have fun this summer? Yeah. And they did.
Yeah. And like a meaningful way. And like, you kind of know, you defined what that feels like.
Yes.
Yes. Just like the general, and you have fun.
That's right. Yeah. So based on the year that we just had, how do you see, or what do you want for your 2026?
That is a great question that I think I still need to probe into. I can reflect on 2025 and say, I have a lot more confidence. Even as a parent, again, my children are in a really nice sweet spot. We're out of kindergarten. We transitioned into, my youngest is now in grade school. My oldest, which are 9, are going to go into 10. So everything is kind of like steady really now. We're not having major milestone changes like the previous years had been, where you're having like infants, going from car seats and all of those things. And it just felt like as soon as you'd get used to something, it would change drastically.
Yes.
And right now we're not in that. It just feels like I know what to expect next year. So that feels just kind of like giving me some more space. I think, again, and confidence in like parenting. I know that's going to majorly shift again, getting into like the preteen teen era, but I feel like I've got like a year or two, maybe 10 and 11, where that's not the case as much. I'm sure there's some preteen parents there listening that are probably like, oh my God.
She doesn't know what's coming.
You don't know what you're
sooner than she realizes.
Totally. But that's how it feels. And that's how it's felt all of this year. A lot more into the routines. And also we're getting more into independence for children, for our kids, where they're able to do stuff for themselves. And that's a big, big shift. We're actually even getting to the point of like, we can leave the house for a little bit.
Huge.
And they're alone. Nice. We could do a whole episode on this, about how to do that. Cause there's we introduced a bit of messaging. So I can communicate with them basically and leave, but communicate. And it's like, oh my God, I've stepped into a whole new world.
Wow.
For like the first time in 10 years. where it feels like you have that freedom. So that feels pretty good.
Okay.
Like going into 2026, I'm realizing that that's on the horizon of just more time for myself. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this free time? So I'm exploring like, what can I do with a bit more freedom in a way. I mean, obviously, that is exciting. It's exciting. I can start to see it.
Okay.
A bit of a different life.
Okay. Like maybe new learnings, new hobbies, reading more books. And I just say the books because I know that was a topic.
It is. And it still is. That's definitely something that I want to do still more of. And I want my kids to see me do more of. For 2026, definitely more reading, but maybe some other things like, again, going out of my comfort zone, like having maybe a class and something else. Like just, I know there is more free time coming in and I want to explore how to use that. So
that's really
exciting. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
Okay. Okay. That's great.
New here? Don't stop at this episode. Binge our full archive. From how to find a babysitter to getting the right help for the life you actually want to thriving as a couple, we've got it all at Intentional Household. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen.
For me, it is, 2025, it truly was about living an intentional household.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you will. Yeah. But what I learned from it and in doing, running Intentional Household, running the podcast, was that as much as I had household support, it meant saying no to my kids for a lot of things, actually, because I found that I didn't have as much time available for them. And while they're still young, I really want to be there for them and take the time, to be available to them. Because when I had the household support, what I did was I filled it with intentional household and doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it wasn't actually spending as much time with my kids as I would have liked. And so I'm finding that this is the time, these are the years to be available for them. Intentional household, it can be resumed at any time.
Absolutely.
But my kids are only going to continue getting older and that time will pass.
Very quickly.
And so I really want to be intentional about my time with them and take a pause from the podcast and resume it when I feel like I've, everyone in the household is satisfied and just really connect with them even more.
Well, I think that is the entire concept behind intentional household is being intentional with your time and thoughtful and reflective.
Yeah.
So all of those things, so having a pause and taking those moments to kind of step back and evaluating where you want to put your time in and what will that be like for this year, the next year, I think is what is our major theme and how everything runs under intentional household, and that includes the business itself. So that is, I think, great. And I think better for the business to have that perspective of just being like, we're going to take a pause. With intentional household, we did a lot. We did a lot in here.
Well, we did I think this is our, like you said, our 50th episode. And we had an episode every week, which is a lot.
Yeah. Again, we were all so curious about the learning, but there is a whole production side of this. And this is also in addition to other parts of we have another business that we are involved in as well. So it is a lot for us to, again, we had so much with even our website. We have all these digital offerings. We want to be intentional with what we offer. And again, take some time to reflect on where we want to focus. So I think that's exactly what we're going to do.
Yes. So this is our final scheduled podcast episode for now.
Yeah.
Who knows when or if we will return? I hope that we will, because again, we've had so much fun doing this. And again, we have so many different themes and topics and experts who could come on, right? And you thought of another one just as we're chatting, right? And it has brought so much joy to us. And so I'm sure that, we'll just have a running list of potential topics. And so hopefully we will revisit that.
Well, the great thing about podcasts is they don't go away.
Yeah.
So we can continue to listen to them and get all of this information out. And when we are inspired, you can always just crack it on.
Yep, exactly. So with that, thank you so much for listening to the Intentional Household podcast. We have truly appreciated all of the feedback we received and every single download that everyone had and listened to our episodes. We've been so appreciative of it. This is something that we've thoroughly enjoyed doing. And if you aren't following us on Instagram, check us out at Intentional Household. And we hope to see you soon.
Goodbye.